Friends and families, I ask that you please rise. On behalf of the faculty and staff of the Fuqua School of Business, I present to you the Weekend Executive MBA Class of 2022, the Global Executive MBA Classes of 2022 and 2019, the Master of Science in Quantitative Management Health Analytics Class of 2022, the Master of Science in Quantitative Management Business Analytics Class of 2022, and the Master of Science in Quantitative Management Accelerated Business Analytics Class of 2021. Please be seated. My name is Bill Bolding, and it is my extraordinary privilege to be the Dean of the Fuqua School of Business. And in my opinion, every day at the Fuqua School is a great day, but today is an amazing day, a day that we've been waiting for quite some time, for some of our graduates, literally for years. And I am so happy that we can join together and share in the celebration of the amazing accomplishments of these graduates. Graduates, this is your time. This is your time to shine. This is when the spotlight is on you. This is your day. And I'm so thrilled to celebrate this day with you. But I'm also, beyond measure, thrilled that this year we can actually ask friends and families to also share in the joy of this day. So welcome to the many friends and family who've joined us today. I also know there are many people who could not join us today and hope that they too are participating, at least streaming this graduation ceremony. But I know that people are here with us in spirit, even if they're not here physically. I'd also like to thank our amazing faculty and staff who have guided you on this journey, who've made this day possible. A day which at times may have seemed unachievable given events in the world, given the challenges that each of you chose as you think back to the moment when you began your programs years and years ago, and the twists and turns that have happened during this journey. That there's been tears, there's been laughter, there's been frustration, there's been complication, There's been aggravation. But ultimately, we've arrived at this destination with joy. And I thank you for navigating the most complicated journey any group of our students has ever had to navigate. So thank you for your patience and your persistence. I'd also like to specifically call attention to the class representatives who worked so hard on your behalf during this journey and did so much to support your experience. So many thanks to those of you playing that role. With that, we have, as you heard when I asked the students to process in, many different students from many different programs, so let's get the show started. I'd like to ask Ashley Shelby Rosette to step up to the podium.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see everyone here today for this celebratory weekend. And so it's safe to say that for most of our graduates that the journey that you embarked upon wasn't necessarily what you planned, but it's amazing to see that you not just survived, you thrived, and you represent the resilience that we describe here as Team Fuqua. And as a famous choreographer, producer, dancer once said, out of creativity, out of limitations comes creativity, and we're here to celebrate our faculty that represent that quite well. So the Weekend Executive, Global Executive, and Msqm classes have spent many, many hours under the tutelage of the Fuqua faculty. And so now, to begin our celebration, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Jin Yang, who will make the presentation of the Excellence in Teaching Awards on behalf of the Weekend Executive MBA Class of 2022.
Thank you, Dean Boulding and Dean Rosette. As you're all aware, our cohort had a very different Duke experience than previous years' Msqmba classes. Only some of us were able to attend our opening orientation week in person, and after that, we were 100% online for our first 2 terms. Like all teachers during the COVID pandemic, switching to an online format was not a simple task. Luckily for us, we had professors who kept us engaged, present, and glued to our screens. I'm honored today to represent the Msqmba 2022 class and present these 2 Teaching Excellence Awards. Way back in our first term, while many of us were still nervous about how difficult the classes would be, we started off with managerial economics. In a class that had the potential to be somewhat dry, we were instead welcomed by a professor whose dry sense of humor kept us listening carefully for subtle jokes. I think we'll all remember how excited he got when demand curves would slide up and to the right. He kept us engaged and made sure that we were all following along by prompting us with clicker questions every 10 minutes. If your attention had drifted even a smidge, you'd be scrambling a few minutes later to come up with an answer. And I don't think anyone will ever forget the bitter rivalries that began between students during the OPEC cartel wars, where we all promised to fix prices and then secretly did what was best for our individual teams. But most importantly, he took a subject that could be challenging and broke it down so that it was easy to understand every step of the way and made it fun. He checked in with every class to make sure that we were all following along and no one was falling behind. He was always available to answer questions and was quick to respond to all of our many emails. We couldn't have asked for a better professor to kick off our careers as Msqmba students. I'm so happy to present this first Teaching Excellence Award to Professor Jim Anton.
Thank you, Jen. It's nice to see everyone in person. It was my privilege. Thank you.
Not many of you had the pleasure of taking the Energy Markets and Innovation class in our final super term, but those of us who did came from varied backgrounds, from energy experts and industry professionals to complete novices like me. Thankfully, you didn't need a background in energy to be immediately affected by the passion that our professor had about energy, the environment, and what role business will play in this country's energy transition. He asked us to consider not only the impact of the decisions being made, but how we felt about it personally. He wanted us to connect to the topics in this class, because no matter what your day job is, this industry affects us all. He kept us engaged with an inspiring set of guest speakers who stayed late to answer all of our questions, and he organized simulations to drive home valuable lessons about how difficult it is to get different stakeholder groups, often with opposing goals, to come together and work to make a real impact. I can say that from all the readings and book recommendations, student presentations about future climate technologies, and stimulating class discussions, that many of us are walking away with a whole new perspective on this industry. It's my pleasure to present this Teaching Excellence Award to Professor Dan Vermeer.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to thank the students that were in the energy markets and innovation class. The beginning of the class, we had a switch at the last minute for you to not be able to all come in present, so we had some that were virtual and some that were in person. I had had surgery on my ankle, so I was in a scooter, and we were in a room where we had 9 students who were in the class and 18 that were on the screen at the back of the room. And my eyesight is not good enough to see the back of the room, so I had to hobble up to actually see who was in the class. But despite all of the hurdles, this group really came together for, I think, really substantive, engaged conversations about really critical issues. When I started teaching this class, I decided that teaching executive MBAs, my job was not to be the expert in all topics, but to really allow the students who had expertise in this industry to step forward and share their expertise with the group, to curate a learning experience for the students. And I look forward every year to being able to bring another group of students into that community. So thank you for this honor and for the opportunity, and congratulations to all of you for all the hard work and the barriers that you've overcome to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jin, Jim, and Dan. And again, Dan's story reminds us of the resilience in numerous ways of our faculty and our students. Now I'd like to introduce Laura Payne, who will make the presentation of the Excellence in Teaching Awards on behalf of the Global Executive MBA Class of 2022.
Good morning, Dean Boulding, Dean Rosette, the incredible Fuqua faculty and staff, friends and family, and my fellow graduates. It's truly an honor to be here to present the Excellence in Teaching Awards on behalf of the Global Executive Class of 2022. First, our Core Course Award goes to the legend herself, Katherine Schipper. Professor Schipper's financial accounting course was during our first term and was the course that we had heard the most about from previous Msqmba classes. I won't mince words. The class was hard, very hard, but we all learned so much. We so appreciated Professor Schipper's high expectations, her care for her students, and we even grew to appreciate her famous cold calling style. I'd like to take a brief pause here to make a personal and public apology to Professor Schipper for once turning to look at the clock during class. She caught me, and I was awarded 15 minutes straight of cold calling. From 10Ks to cash flows, Nordy Club points to American Airlines frequent flyer miles, I know I speak for all of us when I say that we learned an incredible amount about financial accounting. Not only that, but Professor Schipper's high expectations prepared us to be students again and brought us together as teams and sections as we spent long nights in the JB Duke study rooms preparing for the cold calling to come the next morning. Last term, we ran into Professor Schipper at the JB Duke, at the bar at the JB Duke, more than a year and a half after she had met us all in the summer of 2020. You'd think we'd ran into a celebrity. We are so excited to see you and be able to share with you the impact you had on all of us. It is my honor to present the Excellence in Teaching Award on behalf of the Msqmba Class of 2020 to Katherine Schipper.
so much. What an honor. Thank you.
Next, on behalf of the Msqmba Class of 2020, the Elective Course Award goes to Jeannie Holmes, or to her students, Dr. J, for excellence in teaching for her diversity and talent management course. DEI in the workplace is a big topic for a smaller course, and from day one, Dr. J created such an incredible classroom atmosphere. It was a space for open conversation, differing opinions, and any and all questions, and trust me, we had a lot. For me, creating this classroom environment was even more impressive, since the class had both Msqmbas and Wembas, and we'd never been in class together before, meaning a lot of us were strangers on day one. I know I speak for not only the Msqmbas in the class, but our new Wemba friends too, when I say that the cases and discussions in this class will have a long impact on us. And I know many of us have already brought what we learned back to our jobs. Dr. J, we thank you for your patience and your grace as we navigated heavy topics, and your humor as we bonded as a class. It is my honor to present the Excellence in Teaching Award to Jeannie Holmes. Thank you for everything.
Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. Thank you all.
Thank you, Laura, the legendary Catherine Chipper, and Dr. J. Well done. Now I'd like to introduce Jin Yang, and they have been away from us for a little while, but we're so happy to see them back here with us. And so Jin Yang will make a presentation of the Excellence in Teaching Awards on behalf of the Global Executive MBA Class of 2019. Welcome, Jin.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jin Yang, and on behalf of the faculty, and I'm here to present the Faculty Award winners on behalf of the Global Executive MBA Class of 2019. Yes, 2019, the simpler times. There are two Faculty Award winners today, honored today, one for our core courses and one for our elective courses. During our 18-month program, we had the opportunity to take 13 core courses to really build upon our business foundations and choose 4 elective courses out of the offered 19 courses to dive deeper and focus on the specific areas of business. After our 2-year graduation, after a delayed 2-year graduation, I am sure that our 2 distinguished Faculty Award winners are excited to add this award onto their collection. For the Faculty Award winner today, I'm pleased to present this award to Leslie Marx, who taught managerial economics during our Shanghai residency. Professor Marx has focused her research in game theory and industrial organization. She's appeared in multiple publications, co-authored and co-edited a few books, and is the recipient of multiple grants and fellowships. Additionally, she is a member of the 1996 U.S. Olympic fencing team and has won the Masters Fencing World Championship in 2017. She is no stranger to winning awards while wearing a mask. Our class has had the honor of learning from you. Congratulations, Professor Marx.
It's great to see everybody here on the campus of beautiful Duke University. Congratulations.
For the Elective Course Faculty Award, I'm pleased to present this award to Ashley Shelby Rosette, who taught negotiations during her last term at Fuqua. She is a Senior Associate Dean and Professor of Management and Organization at Fuqua. She is one of the foremost leading scholars on research at the intersection of leadership, gender, and race. Her research has been featured in leading TV and news outlets and published in academic journals. She has been recognized as one of the most influential leading scholars from a business perspective in multiple sources and has received the Duke Fuqua Teaching Excellence Award of the Year a record-breaking 12 times. There were so many students unenthused with their BATNA course selection during our elective term that Professor Rosette added multiple sections to accommodate us. Thank you so much for teaching us, and congratulations, Professor Rosette.
Thank you so much, Jen. It was my privilege and my honor to be your professor. Thank you so much for that award and your kind words. Now I'd like to invite MSQM Associate Dean Jeremy Petranka to announce the MSQM Teaching Award winners.
MSQM, where are you at? There you are. First off, it's great to meet you. I took over the program earlier this year, so I am lucky to have I don't know if guiding is the right word, but been with you on your journey just for one term. As shouldn't surprise you, our teaching awards will be just a little bit different. The first thing that will be a little bit different is we won't have specific student speakers because as HA and BA 22 know, their grades came out about 12 minutes ago. So there wasn't really enough time to put that together, but they got there. The other thing that shouldn't surprise them is that as MSQM, for those who don't know, it's Fuqua's actually first only online program that a lot of people here have some form of hybrid or in some cases had all virtual unintendedly, but this is intended to be fully online. So you should be honored that in the spirit of that, all your faculty award winners are not here in person, but are instead watching online somewhere to honor you. So with that, one thing we do when the awards come out is we actually talk to, and even before then, when I first took over, is I talked to a lot of students about what is it that works and what is it that doesn't work in MSQM so that I could get a feel for it or what can be improved. And every single student I talked to when I said, what works, the faculty was always the first thing that came to mind, is we have been lucky since the inception of this program to have amazing faculty, not just at Fuqua, but that wanted to be a part of this, that wanted to create this program. And so it had to have been the case that selecting a single award winner for each program wasn't easy, but you stepped up to the challenge. So with that, I would like to now announce the award winners for each of the 3 graduating programs right now. For each award winner, if you could honor them with a round of applause, because they actually are watching online. And we will go from there. So first off, the Excellence in Teaching Award winner for the MSQM Accelerated Business Analytics Class of 2021 is Mattia Chilero. Thank you very much. The Excellence in Teaching Award winner for the Business Analytics Class of 2022 is Ryan McDevitt. And lastly, the Excellence in Teaching Award winner for the MSQM Health Analytics Class of 2022 is Barack Richmond. So if you don't mind, please give a round of applause for those and all the award winners.
Thank you, Jeremy. And this is the point in the program where we shift from focusing on our faculty leaders to actually focusing on our student leaders. And I would like to introduce the class speaker for the Weekend Executive MBA Class of 2022, Atif Miraj Hussain.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Professor Rosette. Thank you so much to the Msqmba 2022 class for this remarkable and unexpected honor to represent our cohort as a student speaker. I just hope no one in the front row jumps up onto the stage to slap me while I talk. But you'll be invited to stay if you decide to do that. Where were you when you got the call? The call from the admissions office. The call that started this journey. For me, it was a late Wednesday afternoon. I just finished seeing a patient in clinic. That phone call that day changed my life, as I'm sure it did many of yours. It was a little overwhelming, being accepted into one of the best business schools in the world. It was only later I realized that Fuqua is short for few qualify. I was quickly filled with doubt. Was this really something I wanted to do? Should I do it? Could I do it? It did not help that earlier that week I had received something in the mail from the AARP suggesting that I apply for membership and that I was eligible. At age 52, was this a reasonable project to start? The last time I had studied something that was non-medical was in 1984. Basically, the last time I was in a classroom was when, or actually before, most of my classmates were born. To top it all off, my brother announced that week that he'd decided to retire. Thankfully, the doubts were fleeting. I have been incredibly fortunate. Since graduating from medical school, I've had a fairly linear career. After medical training, I was accepted as a faculty member in the Duke's School of Medicine. 25 years later, I had accomplished many of the things I'd set out to accomplish. I was a tenured professor at the School of Medicine and a practicing physician in one of the top leading schools, medical schools. Indeed, a linear dream had come true, but now it was time to add some curves to my linear dream. And those curves came quickly in the form of financial accounting. Of course, the first curve came on April 28th, 2020. You may remember that was supposed to be the first day of class at Fuqua for us, but a little viral particle changed everything. It was clear that our MBA experience was going to be different, and it was going to be unique. The Fuqua staff made extraordinary adjustments, and they even offered to let us take 2 additional classes for free after we graduate. And that seemed like a great idea at the time, but now at graduation, 2 extra classes after graduation? I am so grateful to have been on this 2-year journey with you, my fellow classmates. It certainly is a little cliche to say that I learned so much from you, but it is absolutely true. From my amazing teammates who helped me with everything, from my amazing class fellows who helped tutor me, probably because of the so many questions I asked in class, from the friends I made sitting at the patio of JB Duke after class. I must especially acknowledge the Indian American student group. They adopted me and provided me with a powerful social outlet. For that, I am very thankful. And to our wonderful class reps, the best we could have had. You all are an inspiration. Allow me to take just a moment to thank a few other people. Deans Boulding, Rosette, Courtney, and the staff of the Msqmba program. Thank you for your leadership and for creating the first Zumba, or Zoom MBA. The fantastic Fuqua faculty that guided us through this program. Certainly it was hard to sit through 3 2.5-hour lectures, but the only thing harder was teaching those 3 2.5-hour lectures. Thank you. A big thank you to Reese, the staff of the CMC, and the folks that made this day possible. From those of us in the HSM program, a special thank you to Meg and Kate for guiding us, and of course the MCs of our learning, the omnipresent Sarah and Julie. Forever, we will be grateful. And lastly, how do I thank the people that really have made this success possible? And of course, I'm talking about all the family and friends that are here and those that could not come. Partners, kids, moms, dads, grandparents, and friends. You kept us grounded and motivated. You covered our absences. You tolerated the odd-hour Zoom calls, our weekends away, and our physical and mental absences. No expression of gratitude is enough, so I'll simply say thank you. On a personal note, my sons Amr and Ayaz are here. Amr will be a freshman at Duke this fall, and Ayaz will be a sophomore in high school. My wife Sarwat is the rock of our family. She's here. To her I owe everything. And my brother Asim is here from Washington. But he's retired. What else was he gonna do? And of course, my parents, though they're no longer here, will always be with me. I leave you with a final thought. I hope all of us have long periods of linear growth in our career. I also hope that we have and take the occasional curves. I hope we have the courage to seize new opportunities, even if they appear difficult. I hope we say yes to challenges. We now have the tools to be great leaders. We must now become leaders of consequence. Thank you.
Thank you, Atif. And as you mentioned, saying yes to challenges, we do hope that we see you in a couple of those classes later on. Before I introduce our next speaker, I would also like to bring your attention to an insert that is in all of your programs. We have the class speech from the speaker for Msqmba Class of 2019, Christina Macurola, so make sure you take a look at that. And our next speaker, we're going to shift and we're going to introduce our class speaker for our Global Executive MBA Class of 2022, and that is Vincent Harold Roddy.
Greetings and congratulations. Thank you for the honor of addressing our class on this great day. Celebrate today and enjoy this accomplishment. But as I've learned, when you graduate from Duke, your life only continues to get better. The gifts of Duke are not the diploma you earn or the happiness you experience at graduation. The true gifts are the relationships developed that will last a lifetime, combined with the knowledge earned that will bring great successes into our lives. As the years have passed from my initial Duke graduation, the feelings of gratitude I have for this university have only grown. I want us all to feel this way, and despite the disappointments experienced due to the pandemic, as time passes, I know we all will. Be grateful, be humble for having had the opportunity to study at Duke, but never become complacent, as the knowledge gained at Fuqua was not easily attained. We spent hours studying during a worldwide pandemic, working on various teams, maintaining full-time jobs, with many managing family obligations. Wow. If you can come to Fuqua and thrive under these circumstances, then you can do anything. We just proved it. My life has shown me that our greatest achievements come when we obsess over the process of learning and improvement, not when focused on specific outcomes. Additionally, success does not occur in a vacuum. All of us have had help along the way. By helping each other, we have helped ourselves. I repeat, by helping each other, we have helped ourselves become better partners, leaders, mentors, teammates, as well as better communicators. This passion for service and altruism encompasses the culture of Duke and that of Team Fuqua. This mindset got us through the program. As I reflected on my time at Fuqua, I wanted to share 4 high-yield takeaways with today's audience. Number 1, be humble enough to ask for help. If you need assistance, someone within the Duke community can likely help, or at the very least, know someone who can. I will share a personal example from my time here at Fuqua. Microsoft Excel. Excel is a powerful tool and can be your friend, however, only if you know how to use it. Many times during the program, I sought out assistance using Excel. Every time I asked, I received the support needed to learn the necessary skills to succeed. Helping a fellow Dukie is a foundational principle within the culture of Team Fuqua. Continue to help one another when we are able, and we will keep Team Fuqua strong for generations to come. Number 2, run your personal finances like a corporation. Only keep as much cash or cash equivalents needed to fund short-term expenses. Otherwise, save to invest your money. You all have Duke MBAs, use them, and always remember, time in the market, not timing the market. Number 3, when in a negotiation, listen carefully and ask enough questions to determine the interest behind the other party's stated positions. Splitting the difference will never lead to the best outcome. Determine interest first, and then find creative ways to arrive at the best solutions for everyone. Lastly, and most importantly, number 4, have the courage to be your true selves and focus on bringing value to your relationships. The best leaders are authentic servants who create value for those they hope to lead. In portfolio management, this is referred to as delivering excess returns to the baseline or creating positive alpha. Just a little MBA lingo for today's group. You will create the most value by being your authentic selves and staying true to your highest morals in pursuit of your goals. Only then will you be able to find creative, innovative ways to serve the needs of those around you. Remember this, and your businesses will grow, your relationships will flourish, and you will become a magnet for success. In closing, we are an amazing class. I know each person has inspired someone else during our MBA journey. The audience should know that we consistently had some of the highest Msqmba grade averages in history. We could not travel internationally, but we did have time to study. Looking back, we did. Looking back, I'm happy with how things went. We learned, we made great relationships that will last a lifetime, and finally, when we do have an opportunity to travel, having already earned our MBAs, we will not have to worry about studying. Classmates, be proud of yourselves and all we have accomplished as members of the Fuqua Global Executive MBA Class of 2022. As my father always told me, those who do the work get the rewards. Well, we did the work here, continue to do the work in your future endeavors, and success will find you in the best possible ways. Congratulations on graduation, enjoy today, but remember, you went to Duke. The best is yet to come. Go prove me right, good luck, and go Duke.
Thank you, Vincent, not just for the speech, but also for moving the microphone up for those of us that are more short challenged. So I now have the opportunity to introduce a few class speakers from the Master of Science in Quantitative Management classes. So first, I am honored to introduce the speaker for the Master of Science in Quantitative Management Health Analytics class of 2022, Jane Elizabeth Blaney.
Hello and good morning. As Jeremy said, my name is Jane Blaney, and I am honored to be here standing in front of you today to represent the Msqm class of 2022 Health Analytics. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you to everyone that is watching online. I'd like to take a moment to thank a few people on behalf of our cohort today. Preyas Desai and Jeremy Petranka, thank you for your vision and your leadership. Without you, this program would be nothing. Anna Burnham and Lynn Lieberman, thank you for being the glue that holds everything together and for all of the hard work that happens behind the scenes. Gordon Yang, you have incredible patience. Thank you for being a tech wizard and for putting up with people like me for the last 2 years. To all of the amazing Fuqua faculty, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. And finally, thank you to our friends and family who have supported us, believed in us, taken on far more than their fair share of daily activities for us, and have stood by us for the last 2 years. We could not have done this without you. A wise woman once said, "We need to remember what's important in life. Friends, waffles, and work. Or waffles, friends, work. It doesn't matter. But work is third." That wise woman is Leslie Knope, Deputy Director of the Parks and Recreation Department of Pawnee, Indiana, and also known as the lead character in the television series Parks and Rec. Now, I realize how ridiculous it is to be standing in front of some of the most brilliant minds I have ever been honored to meet and talking about waffles, but stick with me. When I sat down to write my speech for today, I realized that an ordinary commencement speech just won't do in this setting. You don't need to be inspired to go out and seize the day or to find your place in this world. You already have. This room is full of incredible, passionate, and curious individuals. You get up and seize the day every day. I know you do. But if you're like me, and I know that many of you are, what we often forget to do is stop. When we are passionate about our work, and who wouldn't be in anything data related, we can work long hours without intending to. We can miss other events or put off lunch with friends simply because we get caught up working on something that we find interesting. I know because I do this too. So today I challenge you to pause, even for the next few minutes, and to consider, what is your waffle? And as we consider this, let me propose 2 thoughts of what I mean when I ask you, what is your waffle? First, I propose that you look inward. What sparks joy for you that is not a responsibility and is not tied to your career? Waffles aren't something that we have to eat. Specifically, when Leslie Knope needed inspiration or encouragement, she would go out and order waffles. Because finding joy outside of work is good for us. Finding joy can spark creativity and help us to see something from a different perspective. We are entering into a field that is new and uncertain. There are so many unknowns working in data. We need to be able to think creatively and think outside the box. We need to see things from a unique perspective. And to do that, we have to be able to stop working and think of something that sparks joy so we can expand our minds. So first, when I ask, what is your waffle, I want to know what sparks joy for you. But second, I want you to look outward and tell me, how can you spark joy outside of yourself? What is the bigger picture behind what we're doing? And how can we give back to others? We have a long way to go in the data analytics space. And as we pursue changing the world, we are going to learn and identify difficult issues. Over these past 2 years, we already have. We have the power to impact those. So how are we looking at the bigger picture and finding ways to spark joy outside of ourselves? For each of us, that bigger picture is different, and that's amazing. We can all make a difference in unique ways and create good in the world around us. So when I ask you, class of 2022 and 2019, what is your waffle? I want to know, what sparks joy inside of you, and how do you spark joy around you? Class of 2022, we did it. We made it through our master's program, and here we are in the infamous Cameron Stadium. But as we leave these doors, remember what's important in life. Friends, waffles, and then work. Congratulations, class of 2022. We did it.
Thank you so incredibly much. Now I'd like to introduce the class speaker for the Master of Science in Quantitative Management Business Analytics class of 2022, Carrie Renee Demansky.
Good morning. It's an honor to be standing before you today. First and foremost, I want to start with the congratulations. Today is a celebration and recognition of the time, the effort, and the commitment each of us has put forth in our programs. To our friends and family in attendance with us today, as well as those watching from afar, thank you for all your love and support. Ryan, Ethan, Mom, Dad, thank you. Last but not least, to our faculty and staff, I want to recognize and thank you for being with us here this morning and for being those mentors and leaders on this journey with us. Connectedness. When I think of our class in the past 2 years, that to me is what encapsulates our time together. Being a part of something bigger than an individual, we made a choice to consciously connect. As Jeremy mentioned, we are an online program. So it's no small feat in this day and age where we're dominated by our screens. Our class is online, our interactions are all virtual. It's harder and harder to tune out and lean in, to make those truly authentic connections, and yet we did. We were able to put ourselves out there and be accepted for who we are, valued for our experiences, and celebrated for each of our unique perspectives. I have been part of many teams over the years, and in my experience, they have a shelf life. You're together, and at the end of your project or your program, you walk away. We, however, have created something larger than our program. Maybe that's because we're the COVID class. You know, we never had that in-person meet and greet. Our class is online, and for many of us, this weekend was the first time we met each other. We were a bunch of names and faces on a Zoom screen. And while in-person connections are very important and vital, the anonymity of being virtual strengthened us. Our words and our efforts mattered. There were no judgments, just inclusion and acceptance. These touch points became part of our everyday. We shared weddings, job changes, cross-country moves, vacations, promotions, successes, anxieties, and humor. Let's not forget all the humor. And through it all, we allowed ourselves to be seen, heard, and valued. Our courses created a connection of meaning. Our experiences expanded our connection of ideas and cultures, and our screens enabled that constant connection. We started as 40-ish strangers from around the world, and we're now leaving with more than a degree, as my other speakers have also talked about. We leave knowing that even though our cameras may not be on each week, much to Gordon's concern, there will be a permanence to our connectedness that we carry with us. Congratulations, class of 2022 and 2019. I am honored to share this accomplishment with you. Thank you.
Many thanks to all of our student speakers for their really wonderful remarks. Although they did generate some anxiety, our speaker leaned over to me and said, "There's nothing left for me to say." But it is an incredible privilege to introduce our commencement speaker, and an incredible privilege for all of you to hear from our commencement speaker. As you think about the challenge of getting the right person to celebrate this day with you, it's a very, very high bar. You want someone who has significant accomplishment, a role model that you can look to and say, wow, if I have an amazing career, maybe I could do something like that. But you want someone not just of accomplishment, but someone who has gained wisdom through those experiences, and someone who has done things the right way as they have achieved these extraordinary things. And if you're really lucky, they have some kind of connection to Duke. And so our speaker today absolutely fits the ideal commencement speaker. If you think about her accomplishments, they are beyond amazing. She has won every award that you can imagine, every artistic endeavor, and all of this is in the program. But the one thing that I'll point to is she's a Kennedy Center honoree. That means she is literally an American treasure. That is the highest honor that you can give to an artist in this country. But she's more than just an artist. She is one of the most significant business executives in the media and entertainment industry, and she is active in so many different projects in that space, it is mind-boggling. And she is an entrepreneur, having founded the W. Allen Dance Academy. So she has accomplished absolutely extraordinary things, and along the way, she has picked up remarkable wisdom, and she's always done things the right way. And if you think about what she stands for what the Fuqua community stands for. She has always used her platform to advocate for using business as a force for good, using her platform to change the world for the better. She has always believed that everybody who wants to get in the game should be allowed in the game, and that a diverse team is going to beat a homogeneous team if you can make those people feel like they belong, which she has always done. And she exudes this triple threat capability of IQ, EQ, and DQ. She is incredibly smart. She's unbelievably effective working with other people, and she profoundly cares about others, values others, and respects them. And as a result, she has been an inspiration to millions and millions of people around the world through her actions. With that, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Debbie Allen.
Okay, Dean Golding, no pressure. Thank you so much for that glorious and warm and loving introduction and embrace. I'm happy to be here. Yes, I was a little threatened by the other speakers. I'm like, child, please. Nothing left to say. I was so flattered and honored to come to be with you today, to address the brightest minds in our world, our future. And I am part of the family here. My first trip here was in 1989 to celebrate Fuqua's graduation of my brother, Hugh Welburn Allen, whose education and connections here pushed him right out into the banking business, Wachovia, Wells Fargo, and now he's the president at TD Banks. That's him over there. And Kareem Cook, who's sitting right next to him, when I did start the Debbie Allen Dance Academy, Hugh introduced me to him because we also had another connection, dance, the Kappa thing. We had to have that on a different world. And I brought Kareem Cook in to actually help me train Michael Jackson. And he is a Fuqua student, and he wrote the business plan for the Debbie Allen Dance Academy. And so I've had that up close and personal Team Fuqua experience. I came again in 1996 to try to convince Dr. John Hope Franklin to join the team to help make this movie that I'd taken 18 years to make. Steven Spielberg was my director, and he needed the right advisors to feel confident. And I called on Dr. Franklin, and I came to see him, and he said, Ms. Allen, I don't have time, I'm trying to write my book. I said, but Dr. Franklin, you know, this movie will push the history books 20 years ahead. They'll take them 20 years to catch up, because I'd never heard of the Amistad incident when I went to school. It wasn't in any book. Ms. Allen, I don't have time. But then when I told him, my father was your student, Andrew Allen, he went, oh, Big Tex was your father? I will come for you. So he came and sat on the set with Steven Spielberg, and that was an incredible 18-year journey to tell that story of our shared history of our slavery, but ultimately a story that was about the Supreme Court having the courage to make the right decision. Something we gotta, maybe they need to look at the movie. So yeah, why am I here? Well, Dean Bolden made it feel like I did belong here. I was questioning, I mean, maybe I should do some TikTok up here. Maybe they do a little dance number, you know. Maybe they want to hear some gossip. I mean, you know, my best friends are people like Denzel Washington, Sam Jackson, Queen Latifah, Will Smith. Don't say a word. Say one word. I love my people. But I don't know, I didn't think that would be really the charge today. Then I thought, you know, what is today about? What words could I really bring to help this celebration of your accomplishment? Yes, virtually, however. We take it how it comes, don't we? Because you're the chosen ones who've had the incredible Team Fuqua experience. You've been chosen by a school whose aim is to develop consequential leadership who can demonstrate efficiency, purpose, character, accountability, empathy, humility, and trust, something that has become a unicorn in our world today. You've been nurtured by the Fuqua faculty, the leading scholars in their fields, passionate about work, world-renowned for teaching and research. They're thought leaders, policymakers, experts amid fellow researchers whose creative insights fuel action. You have faculty that has contributed to the New York Times bestseller book list, the Duke CFO survey. You have faculty that provide leadership for organizations including the Financial Accounting Standard Board, the American Finance Association, the Food and Drug Administration, the Federal Communications Commission, the White House, child. You have had a learning environment that, as said earlier, could result in lifelong relationships. Your education, by nature, has been interdisciplinary, exploring problems and consequences from multiple perspectives, developing empathy. All of this to get to this glorious day of graduation. Says you passed the tests, you did the work, you live up to expectation, and now with family and friends, dinners, a toast of champagne, honey, a shot of tequila. I think my real purpose is to ask you a question. I've come to ask you a question that was asked of George Soros, referred to as the man who broke the bank in England after he launched the Quantum Fund. It was asked of Alexander Hamilton after he founded the United States financial system, the Coast Guard, the New York Post. It was asked of Ding Zhudong, chairman of CEO of China Investment Corporation, after he took a large investment bank public. It was asked of Michael Bloomberg after being mayor of New York for 12 years, Lord. It was asked of Elon Musk when he put his bid in for Twitter. It was asked of Janet Yellen, chairman of the Board of Governors of Federal Reserve, after she became the first woman to be the guardian of the U.S. economy. It was asked of Warren Buffett after he bought his first stock at 11 years old. Who are you? Who are you? When you look in the mirror, who is looking back? What makes you laugh? What makes you cry? What do you care about in this world? When I look in the mirror, I see my grandchildren, my sister Felicia Rashad, my mother Vivian Ayers, my grandmother Goldie Jean Jackson, who birthed 10 children. I see Lena Horne, Catherine Dunham, Maya Angelou, Harriet Tubman, Cleopatra, and I see God. That is my blood memory and my imagination of myself. Imagination is what distinguishes us from the animal kingdom. Your imagination of your own life is what brought you here, to this special moment surrounded by family and friends and loved ones. But this is a question you've got to really think about and be able to answer before that sun sets today. Because it will define your mission and your purpose in life. Who are you? How will you use all that you've learned, all the connections you've made to change what needs to be changed? Is profit maximization the greatest purpose? Politics and business fuel the infrastructure of the world. Look at all these degrees. Child, I didn't even know they had all these degrees. MBA, MMS, MQM, PhD. You all are amazing. But the question is, how do you see yourself? Who are you? What is your mission, your purpose in life? When I was a little girl, all I wanted to do was dance. I came out dancing. I wanted to dance like what I saw in those old black and white movies that I saw on my black and white TV when I was little in the 50s. I knew I could replace that half of Shirley Temple. I I wanted to dance up those steps with Bill Robinson. I wanted to twirl in that feathery gown dress with Fred Astaire and the Nicholas brothers. I would dance in my backyard to the birds and the clouds and the trees. They were my audience. That was when I was 4 years old. That was the image of myself. My imagination told me I could do anything. But when my mama took me to that serious ballet school in Houston, Texas, they told me no, there would be no black children in their school. Mama tried to pretend I was Mexican, they still wouldn't take me. So then Mama found a businessman who had been a former dancer in Russia. He came to our home. Mama transformed the living room into a ballet studio. He taught me privately when I was 8 years old. Then when I was 10, she was so tired of the racial constraints and challenges, she packed us up and moved us to Mexico City. Me and my sister, Felicia Rashad, where we saw things we had never seen. There was no color barrier. We could go to a restaurant. Even if we didn't speak the language, they were nice to us. I went and trained at the Ballet Nacional. I went to see the Bellas Artes every Sunday. I was inspired by the murals of Diego Rivera that just painted the landscape of the city. And when we got back home, the civil rights movement was taking this country like a brush fire. And finally, that ballet school said yes. I was the first black dancer at the Houston Ballet. And baby, did I work hard? I was 13 years old. I took 12 dance classes a week. I was on the honor roll and I had a boyfriend and I was a majorette. Stop it. They hid me from the board. They didn't want to tell them I was there. But when they saw me dance, they were like, oh, all right. They had to let me stay. It was about the art. Couldn't be about color, couldn't be about race. I was out dancing all those heifers. Yes, I was. I was in the opening of Jones Hall. I was the only one in Aida that didn't have to wear the makeup Egyptian 19 because I was already dark. I was my friend. They were my friends. And by the time it was time for me to go to college, and I got on a plane and came here to North Carolina, I was the hope of my community. I was the joy of my family. I had worked so hard. I got here early, went to the audition so I could be ready. They used me in the audition to demonstrate for the other girls. And when it was over, the man told me I was not going to be accepted because my body wasn't right for dance. My body? I was the only black girl there. I called my dad, it was hard. Dad was like, oh girl, when you start. Daddy did not accept me. Stop playing, girl. The longest plane ride in my life. I got off the plane, my mom met me in tears at the airport. She said to me, Deborah, you failed. My mother said that to me. I said, Mom, I was good in the audition. They used me to demonstrate. Deborah, you failed. But Mom, they just didn't want another black girl. They just didn't want me. She said, you failed. You failed. My mother was loving me. My mother was giving me the hardest lesson of my life, that I was not going to be allowed to let somebody else define who I am. I was not going to be allowed to wallow in self-pity or lean into racial bias as an excuse. No reason was going to have to stop the rain. You can't stop the rain. That was tough for a 16-year-old. I was 16. And it took me a minute. But I got back on my bike. I went to Howard University, where I was loved and embraced. I was at a party dancing my butt off, and someone said, "Wow, come join my dance company." Before I knew it, I was going to the North Carolina, what has now become Spoleto. It was the American School of Ballet for the summer. I met Alvin Ailey, I met Martha Graham, I met Lee Theodore, I met the titans of dance who loved me. Years later, I got my honorary doctorate from that school. Because you see, it might have taken me some time, but I still was in first place. I still won. That's who you are. You in first place. You finished. You got there. Now what? Who are you? You have to keep alive the fire of the imagination of yourself and what you want to be, who you want to be, and how you think the world needs to change. The world as we once knew it is just so different. Truth has changed. Humanity has changed. You're coming into a time when who and what you stand for matters more than ever. So what is your mission? What is your purpose? What is your responsibility? What is the responsibility of Bill Gates, Paul Allen, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg? I have long said that civilizations are remembered for their art and their wars. And the businessman and woman are the powerful underwriters of both. The businessman and woman are the institution builders. You build the libraries that house the books, the museums, the concert halls. But also you build the factories that can make the bombs. We're living today in the single most dangerous time in human history. Devastating climate change and the real possibility of nuclear war present terrifying threats to our very existence. Women's rights are being not just compromised, being strangled, slashed, and drowned. Freedom is being challenged as the value of life is weighted against vacuums of power. The very idea of what it means to be a stakeholder is no longer just the person who owns the most stock in a company, but the person and the people and the communities whose lives are impacted by that company. We've been told in a couple of days, May 9th, that little tyrant over in the East might announce whether he's gonna abandon his war or expand it deeper into Europe. He's just gorged himself on his nation's wealth, and he has marched us all to the brink of the Third World War. You can be a part of the solution. The wars that are being waged now are economic. Financial institutions and banks have as much power as any government. You're part of that. They're great signs of progress. But you are the untapped market, and you should imagine yourself as that. You are the unexplored resource equipped to enter a business, a school, an NGO, and bring yourself to it. Who are you? What is your mission? What is your purpose? Yes, I've done a lot of things. I've danced on Broadway with Fosse, with Jerome Robbins. I was Anita in West Side Story. Jerome didn't care if I was black. My Spanish was better than most of the Latin people that were in the company because I had been where? To Mexico. It all works out, and you don't even know how it's all gonna fit together. But I've worked for over 30 years to bring the opportunity of the arts to young people, to elders, battered women and their children, cancer patients, hospital workers, boys. I have a real soft spot for the boys. I have more boys in my dance school than any other school in the country. One of my kids has 8 million followers on TikTok. Child. I'm gonna let him be the poster boy for the new recruitment. The girls will come. I have, in the middle of a pandemic, built the Rhymes Performing Arts Center. Impossible to get money when you're standing in line for people that don't have food, don't have a job, don't even have the proper PPE. We have done it. I've been the inspiration and the power behind my staff, my faculty, my students, my community, to get things done. They say I'm a magician because we don't know how we do it, but it is faith and belief and purpose. The Rhymes Performing Arts Center is a cultural oasis for these young people. Like I saw today, Empower. They were so beautiful. They danced for me. They made me cry. For the young people, a place where they can collectively gather, a place where the community can gather and protest anything or celebrate anything. You are part of a family and a community, and part of a world that needs to be guided by you. If we're to stave off this apocalypse that threatens all of us just over the horizon, you can reimagine what the words business, industry, and commerce can mean to the everyday person. You can. It is because you decided to be an example for young boys and girls who right now are unsure about who and what they can become, or even if there will be a recognizable world left for them to become, because you, fueled by mission, purpose, and with the imagination of who you are and what you want to be, you can decide to be an example and help those young people who are dreaming of a vibrant and hopeful future, dreaming while they stand alone in their backyard, singing and dancing to the trees and the birds and the clouds. Thank you.
First, thank you, Hugh. Thank you, Kareem, for bringing Debbie Allen into the Fuqua community. Debbie, thank you for your inspirational speech, which was just amazing. Who you are is someone of vision, purpose, and filled with decency. What you are is a leader of consequence, something that everyone in this room aspires to accomplish. Thank you so much. On behalf of the entire Fuqua community, I'd like to give you a small token of our appreciation.
So if you will indulge me for 1 minute. Growing up, I lived in a very sheltered upbringing. What you see is what was there. And that's what I knew, and that's what the world was. And then a different world came on TV. And a window was opened to what the world actually looked like. Before I heard that speech, I gotta be honest, I was in awe of you. And when I saw that you were a speaker, it was deeply meaningful for me in terms of some of the pivotal things in my life I needed to break out of what I knew. After that speech, I think you're glowing when I look at you. So despite all that, I do have to say this, that for the rest of my life, when someone asks me for 25 interesting things, number one is gonna be, I think Dr. Ms. Debbie Allen just opened for me. So, with that, it gives us great pleasure that we're now going to introduce the Fuqua Scholars from the Weekend Executive MBA Class of 2022, the Global Executive MBA Classes of 2022 and 2019, the Masters of Science in Quantitative Management Health Analytics Class of 2022, the Masters of Science in Quantitative Management Business Analytics Class of 2022, and last but not least, the Accelerated Masters of Science in Quantitative Management Business Analytics Class of 2021. Now, I have always held a deeply personal connection with our working professional classes. So not just as a teacher, but I also drank the Kool-Aid that my wife of almost 18 years, about 5 years ago, got her Msqmba degree from us. She actually saw what we were doing and saw how much I loved the students and said, hey, that seems like a good idea. So one of the great things about that is that I had always understood what it meant to be a student from this side of the desk. I never really understood what it meant from that side of the desk, and I never really understood on what it meant for everybody up there supporting you. That the blood, sweat, tears, love, support, time, sacrifice that everybody in this building did is incredible. And first, I want you all to give yourselves a round of applause because this is about all of us. And now, with that, every one of you getting an MBA or an MS, it is an incredible achievement, and we couldn't be more proud of you. But we do want to honor a few that not just completed the programs, but also distinguished themselves in their academic programs.
Not just one amazing act to follow, but two amazing acts to follow. Thank you so much, Ms. Allen. I've already fanned out, so I'm gonna put that aside, and thank you so much, Jeremy. Fuqua Scholars are those students who graduate in the top 10% of their class. As we consider the quality of all of the members of this class, we can also reflect on the outstanding achievement of being designated a Fuqua Scholar. I will read the names of the Fuqua Scholars alphabetically, and I would ask that as I read each name, that the person stands in his or her place. Now, I would also ask that the audience wait until I have read all the names before indicating your support and congratulations. That will help us to make sure that all the names can be heard. So without further ado, the Weekend Executive MBA Class of 2022 Fuqua Scholars are Catherine Ann Andre, David Edward Balcom, Ernest Jeremy Corvese, Pamela Ruth Evans, Zhou Feng, Sarah Elaine Farmer, David Alexander Gerber, Vivek Goel, Isaiah Jewell, Dennis John Kubinski, Margaret Marie Larson, Aaron Michael Lawrence, Patrick A. Livingston, Rupen Rajendra Patel, Kelsey Carl Peterson III, Matthew Kyle Ross, Andrew Maxwell Skivani, Aparna Bharat Shaw, Deepak Sharma, Mahendra Pratap Singh, Rachel Maydeen Stanulis, Jennifer Michelle Sumi, Zhao U Zhou. Now, please join me in congratulating the Weekend Executive MBA Class of 2022 Fuqua Scholars on their outstanding achievements. Thank you so much. You may all be seated. And now, I would like to introduce the Global Executive MBA Class of 2022 Fuqua Scholars. And they are Inessa Babayev, And we ask that you please stand. Yes, thank you. Ryan John Goes. Teresa Victoria Ketters. Michael Andrew Lipsner. Ganuyet Nurudin. Matthew Joseph Palaquin. Tracy Nicole Rotter. Justin Matthew Rubenstein. Danielle Sodorinko. Alok Srivastava. And Stephanie Cassandra Yarnell Magori. Please now join me in congratulating the Global Executive MBA Class of 2022 Fuqua Scholars. Thank you so much. And now we pivot to introduce the Global Executive MBA Class of 2019 Fuqua Scholars. And they are Abby Renee Bemis, Srijane Bhaskar, Min Chen, Michael Joseph Hertz, Jeremy Andrew Michael Katasak, Christina Macaroya, Sajad Hussain Naqvi, Dean Johan Overdijk, Teresa Diane Rupp, Elizabeth Mary Woodward, and finally, Jennifer Yang. Please join me in congratulating the Global Executive MBA Class of 2019 Fuqua Scholars on their outstanding achievement.
Thank you so much. Now it is my honor to list the Fuqua Scholars for the Master of Science in Quantitative Management programs. So first up, Msqm Health Analytics Class of 22. Same as before, when I call your name, please stand and stay standing. Hang tight till the end, everybody, and we will give them their very loud due. So, the Fuqua Scholars are Mark Bairstow, Austin DeVinny, Shahir El-Bardisi, Naquan Eric Ishman, Joseph Dedrick Jordan. Please give them a very loud round of applause. Please be seated. So I'd now like to introduce the Master of Science in Quantitative Management Business Analytics Class of 2022 Fuqua Scholars. They are Brittany Nicole Harrison, Corey Everett Gildart, Sudeep Sarkar, and Yang Yu. Loud round of applause for our scholars. Please be seated. And last but not least, and this one won't take very long, for our Master of Quantitative Management Accelerated Business Analytics Class of 2021 Fuqua Scholars, we have Kimberly Love Langenhahn and Douglas Scott Wallace. So please join me in congratulating the Msqm ABA Class of 2020 Fuqua Scholars and all Fuqua Scholars on their outstanding achievements.
And now is the time that many of you have long awaited to individually recognize each of our graduates. Today, we ask each of our graduates to come forward to be recognized and congratulated by the entire assembly gathered here today. At this time, I would like to ask Julie Craig and Sarah Evans, our current and former assistant directors and program managers of the Weekend Executive MBA Class of 22 to come forward to read the names of the Weekend Executive MBA 22 graduates. We ask the graduates to file up to the stage on your right, and as your name is called, please accept a diploma cover and our congratulations. Now, a few moments ago, I asked that you please refrain from showing your support for the Fuqua Scholars until all the names had been read. I want to point out at this time that this part of the ceremony is quite different. It's a very special moment, and I encourage you all to cheer for our graduates and show your joy and support and celebration of them. And with that, I turn it over to Julie Craig.
Atif Hussain. Jennifer Sumi. Adeboyega Joseph Adekemi. Kavita Aladar. Mashal Al-Hejilan. Mohammed Rabiq Allah Pichai. Jeffrey Robert Althoff. Misfa Alvi. Catherine Ann Andre. Matthew J. Andrews. Anthony Francis Apia. Rachel Asau McCartney. Meryl Jean Baccaras. Archana Bakshi. David Edward Balcom. Charles Everett Barlow. Margaret Faith Bartlett. Chandrasekhar Balagur. Spencer Christian Berry. Sayatan Bhattacharya. Rao Bandalapati. Lauren Ashley Cabral. Sunil Chandrasekharan Uni. Susan Chen. Summer Chu. John Spencer Clark. Christina D. Coleman. James Michael Connolly. Nicholas Vito Conti. Remy Corvesi. Ryan Kevin Curry. Morgan Marlo Murphy Dar. Mark Patrick Delaney. Andrew Matthias Delau. Courtney Elizabeth Drennan. Andrew James Duval. Thomas Andrew Ellingson. Pamela Ruth Evers. Zhou Fong. Sarah Elaine Farmer. Lakeisha Michelle Faulkner Jenkins. Clarence Maurice Finley. Daniel Lawrence Foreman. Kyle M. France. Christopher David Free. Blaine Alexander Fritz. Michael Thomas Funderburg. Gerard M. Gabara. Erica Gillespie. Aruna Gedem. David Alexander Gerber. Stephen Zachary Gilbert. Donald Ingram Gillum. Joseph D. Goodwin. Rahul Govindan. Anuj Goyal. Stephanie Edwards Gupton. Luke Hackerol. John Neil Halley. Matthew John Halleck. John Barry Hand. Michael Garrett Harms. Bradley Seth Harvey. Kanisha Hines. John Courtney Holloman Jr. Tamara Nicole Huff. James Stephen Hunter. Krista Ann Jennings. Sandeep Mohan Jha. Ariel Kanagaraju. Michael Leathers Keck. Michael Andrew Keller. Sean Ryan Kennedy. Jared Kernodo. Cynthia Savannah Kim. Paul Shanks Klukas. David Joplo Kofa Jr. Kevin Shu Hong Koo. Kyle Frederick Kramer. Joel Krishnan. Dennis John Kubinski. Harsh Kulkarni. Vincent Leonard Coons. Karsten Michael Lachelle. Margaret Larson. Aaron Michael Lawrence. Lin Chi Lee. Olga Lee. Zakia Alta Lee. Rory Lynn. Sean Adam Lipkin. Patrick A. Livingston. Jameer Andre Logan. Mina Magdi Munir Luca. Corey Celeste Lutenbacher. Audrey Ntemo Luwungu.
Maywell. Jennifer Ann Massengill. John Colin Matthews. Abhishek Mathur. Jordan Ashley McAllister. Brandon Hamishi Jason McCalla. Leroy Pierce McCarty III. Kevin Allen McDonald. Timothy Michael McLister. Brian Thomas McPherson. Nikhil Menon. Rakesh Menon. Michael Mertzky. Ronald L. Miller Jr. Brian Scott Mintz. Emily Maureen Mildred Mode. Renato Maranel. Johanna Michelle Molina Parks. Maximilian Moog. John Joseph McKinnon Moorer. James Elliott Morris. Jason Adam Musante. Roland Christopher Nash. Valerie Ruth Nelson Ray. Cipriano Osa. Dave Pandya. Rinku Parmar.
Arthur James Patefield Jr. Rupin Rajendra Patel. Vasant Bharat Patel, MD. Samir Vijay Patil. Suresh Babu Patnam. Shanmuga Sundaram Pichimuthu. Kelsey Carl Peterson III. Chelsea Victoria Pierce. Ramya Pralad. Brooke Hassler Perrucker. Scott Michael Perrucker. Kevin Chen. Rubing Xiang. Pedro Jose Roque. Sri Maraju Sagi. Mario Kevin Salazar. Anjandeep Sandhu. Andrew Maxwell Chivon. Jonathan Tyler Schneckenberger. Lee K. Severson. Matthew Shaban. Aparna Bharat Shah. Deepak Sharma. Neeraj Sharma. Justin Daniel Sheridan. Natasha Shyam. Justin R. Sibley. Sham Sundar Shinkaraju. Mahan Singh. William Graham Spencer. Shweta Shri. Varun Shirangarajan. Jeffrey Brian Stringer. Maximilian Manfred Salagi. Christopher Donalyn Tennyson. Brian Thompson. Vishnu Kumar Tiwari. Ashley D. Towns. Sydney Ann Upa. Sri Subramanya Aditya Vadali. Mangai Varadachari. Carlos Andres Villamarin. Toby Andrew Wagner Jr. Natalia J. Wallen. Karina Walter. Jessica Ann Ward. Brian Patrick Watson. Oscar Fernando Weigand. Iga Wu. James Curtis Wyatt. Sophie Yang. Sri Charan Yarlagada. Chun Man Jeffrey Young. Xiao Di Zhou. Xiao Yu Zhou. And last but not least, Olga Zazulia.
Congratulations to our weekend class of 2022. And now Diana Leonard will come forward to read the names of our Global Executive MBA Class of 2022 graduates.
Laura Michelle Payne. Vincent Harold Roddy. Maya Aridi. Robert Lloyd Arnold. Inessa Babayev. Nicole Russo Bannicky. Rick Baruwa. Vinay Banat. Travis Wesley Cervantes. Casey Chappell. Christopher Chin. Peter Costa. Jason Crutchfield. Joshua Deanna. Bradley Reed Dragoon. Jolene Elian. Angelia Espinal. Mohammed Fatah. Nicholas Felici. Jonathan William Flynn. Brittany Ann Franklin. Brooke Gaines. Sean Michael Guerin. Ryan John Goes. Harpreet Singh Gulati. Ryan Thomas Hatton. Brian Michael Henderson. Jacqueline Amanda Henry. Evan Hung. Vamshiter Reddy Jacka. Abude Joshi. Joshua Kellum. Seema Khan. Michael Peter Connect. Teresa Victoria Kesters. Karen Ann Lauer. Derek Lee. Taylor Renee Lockwood Kane. Carolyn Logie. Alex Nathaniel Margolis. Connor Patrick McCafferty. Sylvester Mensa. Jasmine Nicole Miller. Nicholas Ahmad Lemana Narayan. Ganiat Nuruddin. Pascal Obina Obona. Gabriel Onyabor Okpa. Tolulepa Olufunmilayo Operende. Christina Faith Oxendine. Reese Bradburn Parkinson. Matthew Joseph Paloquin. Jessica Lauren Place. Alexandra Prudencio Irizarry. Jose H. Ramirez. Brendan Thurman Riley. Jonathan Rigo. Tracy Nicole Rotter. Alejandra Santana. Diana Natalias Shamas. Mataba Siampande. Anna Sinclair. Richa Srivastava. Faisal Swedan. Akash Narendra Trivedi. Lina Varun. Bridge Wang. Katie Woolard.
Congratulations to our Global Executive MBA Class of 2022. And now I'd like to ask Cindy Zhang, our Associate Director, to come forth and read the names of our Global Executive MBA Class of 2019 graduates.
Jennifer Yang. Sher Shah Alexander. Giovanna Almendares. Joseph Francis Blachley. Brittany Ann Bewarian. Robert Conover Brewster Jr. Joshua R. Burton. Emily Louise Carr. Diego Alonso Cavero Cardenas. Min Chen. Jared Nicholas Cherney. Charmaine K. Tra. Christopher Mark Zarnowski. Nina Dennenberg. David Michael Delaney. Owen Michael Dorney. Vinod Alwyn D'Souza. Oscar Andres Duran Cano. Gregory Bradford Inzinger. Abhijit Kumar Gantapathe. Sean Godar. Juan Fernando Gonzalez. Natalia Grachuka. Stephanie Ann Hertz. Joanna Laura Wu. Michael Joseph Hertz. Rashi Kacker. James Sanker Kresge. Amy Catherine Cromus. Jonathan David Leake. Céline Marchand. Sajjad Hassan Naqvi. Yannick Arnaud Tanki. Ni Ashrifi Nuno. Praveen Kumar Madhavenkuti. Neil Simon O'Rourke. Benjamin Clinton Marlowe. Justin Mitchell McClellan. Raman Panal Bandala. Nicholas Christopher Panos. Yeongkyung Soyoung Park. Matthew Luke Popowski. John Godfrey Pewter. Francisco H. Reyes. Caroline Elizabeth Riedel. Matthew Anthony Ross. Philip Schuster. Aaron Thomas Starks. Andrew Harris Winters.
Congratulations to our Global Executive MBA class of 2019. While you won't find the names of these next individuals in your program, these are students who were not able to attend our celebration in October of 2021, and so we've invited them to come back and to celebrate with us today. These are graduates from our Weekend Executive Class of 2019, the Weekend Executive Class of 2020, and the Global Executive Class of 2020. Cindy will now call these names.
Faisal Ahmad Dal. Sebastian Maria Pragasam. Varnica Verma. Christine Vu. Prina Mateshkumar Patel. Shongling Gao. Charnargon Muang Mong Kong. Sandeep Roy. Xing Song.
Congratulations to all of our executive MBA graduates.
Msqm, it is our time. I'd like to ask Lynn Lieberman, Assistant Director and Program Manager, to come forward to read the names of the first Msqm HA Class of 2022 graduates. Again, we ask the graduates to file up on the stage to your right. As your name is called, please accept your diploma cover and congratulations.
Jane Elizabeth Blaney. Kevin Alviar. Sam Antonios. Mark Bairstow. Caston Grant Casey. Austin Deviney. Jarek Richard Dombrowski. Wait just a second. Shahir Al-Bardisi. Siddharth Gondra. Sandra Davila Garcia. Philip Gross Didier. Kritina Gupta. David Robert Harvey. Kayla Mieko Haas. Naquan Eric Ishman. Christina Coons Geit. Caitlin Ann Lenz. Michael Brandon Lavin. Mary Frances Liang. Stephen Robert Luciani Jr. Heidi Mocht Register. Andreas Maurizio Restrepo. Rachel Nicole Ritter. Philip Scower. Marissa Elizabeth Sclafani. Rebecca Rose Smith Finley. Madeline Annalise Stadler. Amy Marie Starkovich. Chong Yang.
Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to the Msqm HA Class of 2022. Up next, we have the Msqmba Class of 2022. Lynn, over to you.
Carrie Renee Demansky, Rashana G. Kumar, Valeria Alfimova, Yang Feng Chen, Paul Edwin Flannery, Renee Elizabeth Guerin, Roman Gelman, Corey Everett Gildart, Brittany Nicole Harrison, Farah Kayam Ali, Vin Tuan Lam, Louis Lee, Wes Lee, Nancy Liu, Reina Pelissari, Brent Douglas Rao, Danielle Marie Rapokis, Sudeep Sakar, Carrie-Ann Nicole Smith, Shreya Vikas, Maytel Weiner, Jenna Coster-Wolf, Amanda Marie Woodley, Jennifer Jin, Yang Yu, Miao Tang, Miller Zhang.
Congratulations to the Msqmba Class of 2022 graduates. And last but not least, our Accelerated Business Analytics Class of 2021, who will now have their MBAs as well as their Masters of Science. Please come on down.
Wesley Brown, Henry Chang, Donald Eads, Michael Harrison, Anthony Jaya Chandran, and Doug Wallace.
First, congratulations to the Msqm ABA Class of 2021. And now, as loudly as you can, a round of applause for every one of our graduates here.
So we are almost done. Wow. There's a lot of people. A lot of years we've waited to do this. So if I could ask everyone in the audience to please remain seated until all of the faculty, staff, and students have recessed out and then plan to join us back over at the Fox Center to celebrate. But if I could also ask the students to please rise. So I'd like to speak to you directly just for a couple of minutes before we bring this to a close. So first of all, thank you. I know this hasn't been easy. I know under normal circumstances, what you've done is not easy. And these are far from normal circumstances. So I want to thank you for your grace, your good humor, your patience during times when it was easy to lose your heads and to simply give up. None of you gave up, and that's why you are here today. So thank you for that. You're now all members of Team Fuqua. That is a lifetime membership, and it comes with many, many privileges, but it also comes with responsibilities. So let me quickly just tell you some of those responsibilities. First of all, as you think about Coach K and his final comments to our community and the advice he received from his mother, which seems appropriate here on Coach K Court that I repeat this, he said, be with good people. So the first thing is, good people got you here. Please show your appreciation repeatedly to those people who made this day possible, among the standing people, among the people surrounding you, and among the people who could not be here in person to celebrate this day. But please show your appreciation repeatedly because they were able to push you over the finish line for something that means a lot. The second thing is, you've been with good people. Team Fuqua is full of good people, and you've meant a lot to us, to our community. Do not break those bonds with the school. Please give back to the students who will follow you and make sure that you enrich their experiences just as those who preceded you have made such a difference in your experiences. So make sure that we keep good people in this community. The third thing is, you may think this is obvious, but stay with these good people standing next to you. Life will come at you fast and furious. You say, oh, of course, friends for life, nothing will get in our way. Well, guess what? Life gets in the way. Make sure that you make the time to keep the bonds between you secure, because this is a lifetime relationship and a lifetime of opportunities to get the most from each other. Do not skimp on that opportunity whatsoever. And then the last thing that I'm going to request of you, in addition to being with good people, is, you might guess, be good people. Live up to these ideals of decency that got you here. Bring decency into the world. Spread decency to others. Bring others onto your team because you are a decent person that others want to be with. Now more than ever, the world needs people like you to make the world just a little bit better. This is your time to shine. Congratulations, and now let's celebrate.